we start the video, just wanted to say, last week we did a vote on which wheels to run, and it wasn't even close. Almost, it's more than, I don't know, 80% of people voted Bronco wheels. You see all of these comments. Out of all of these comments, there are maybe 5 or 6 that say other than the Bronco wheels. So Bronco wheels it is. Guess I'll be picking up paint for those. So we'll get back into me rambling about something like normal. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Crawford. This is Virginia's for Lowriders. The plans didn't work out quite as I wanted them to. Last week we left off with me saying that I was going to get the door jambs sanded down, primed and painted, hopefully by Wednesday. And that turned into quite a mess. Ever since I've owned this truck, I've noticed that there was a little bit of primer cracking in the roof. And I always thought, there's probably Bondo in there, or body filler, whatever you want to call it. So I started by sanding all of the door jambs. At first I was going to scuff it, spray it, be done with it. It might have lasted a couple years, but I started digging into it, and there was... You ever seen the inside of a gobstopper? I'll add a picture to the screen of what I'm trying to refer to here. It was like an onion. Layers and layers and layers. I found purple, blue, or baby blue. So it was primer, baby blue, white, primer, black. I don't know. It's crazy. You can see a little bit here of the depth. And in between all of that, and kind of the last slathering of crap, was that green that y'all know that I love. So that, they went from DA sanding, a little bit of whiz wheel, cleaning up the door jambs, trying to get them down to bare metal, nice and smooth. Surprisingly, no rust, which was, like, I don't know how that happened, but probably because there were so many layers of paint on it that the weather could never make it to the actual sheet metal. So curiosity got the best of me. Not A.D.D. this time. Curiosity got the best of me, and I got out the old resurfacing tool, started going at the roof. It looks like somebody was line dancing on the top of this thing. There is so many dents, and they were packed full of Bondo, body filler, whatever. This is rippled up. It's like a potato chip. Let me get my, actually here's one. See that? See the gaps there? Right in this area. This should be relatively flat. The entire roof is like that. You might be able to see the jaggedness there. It is rippled all to crap. And right in the center, I'm assuming they had a CB radio. So I'm not really sure where to go from here. I'm thinking I'm going to go inside. I actually called them earlier today. I think it's Legacy soft tops. Never really been a fan, but I kind of have a problem, and I think that's the easiest solution to the problem. A friend of mine, Sean, said he'd give me a roof skin. I really, really don't want to invest that many hours into this roof. I was going back and forth. I've been doing a bunch of measurements. I could go with like an Xterra pop-up sunroof, potentially. I really don't want to do an electric. I don't want to cut a hole in the roof at all. But I'm thinking the Legacy is probably the way to go. So tonight, pulled out the back window. So I'll show everything that I've done. Pulled out the back window. I'm going to get this thing completely sanded and completely prepped. I think I'm going to go inside and convince myself to buy one of those ragtop sunroof things. I think that's the easiest solution. Quickest. They look pretty cool. It's never really been my thing. Like, I've always kind of left vehicles stock appearing. But it's error correct. Something that is standard mini trucking, so I don't feel like it's a bad thing to do. You can see here, there is actual grinding marks in the sheet metal. I spoke to Legacy today. The man told me that they sell a 35 by 20, which is pretty standard for single cab pickup trucks. He said he believes the 40 by 20 would work. And the 40 by 20 would pretty much eliminate all of the crappy sheet metal in here. I believe in myself and my sheet metal abilities. I could fix it. I just don't think it's worth the time to fix. Plus, it's something else to try to do. I've never done one, so I've always thought it would be really cool to do their super, super long one on like a stubby van, which I have a stubby Chevrolet van. So if this goes well, that could be a thing later on. So I don't know when that's going to get here. I doubt it'll be here by this weekend. So I'm going to keep chipping away at stripping the paint off of this thing. I have to take out my headliner, which I'm not excited about. I was really excited. I found this headliner in the junkyard in the roughest Mazda probably I've ever seen. It was beat all to hell and rusty, and it was a complete pile of crap. But the headliner was immaculate. I don't know if I've ever shown this on camera, but the headliner is perfect. There is not a scratch, stain, anything on there. The shadows kind of make it look dirty, but it is perfect. Perfect visors, everything. So maybe if I get the soft top, I can tuck the edges of it in and still retain that. Hopefully. It would really suck if I had to do away with it altogether, but that's the plan. We're going to be stripping some paint, coming up with some game plans, then we're just going to figure out something else to do for the entire weekend. It is Wednesday night. I spent 2 hours last night stripping the roof and about 3 hours the night before stripping the door jambs. I've been trying my best to get a head start on this thing. I could still potentially paint the door jambs, but my mindset is I've already gone this far. It's not that much of a difference to paint the entire cab. So that's probably the plan. But I also don't want to paint the cab before I get the roof, just in case. So we're going to have to find something else to do. I'm going to stop rambling. One thing we will do this week, we're going to roll the inner fender edges of this. I did a very small wired edge on the bed. I think I'm going to do the same thing on these. And then we're just going to keep the ball rolling. We're going to find something to do. We're making progress, but it feels like I'm going way backwards now, and it's another like $500. So if you've never been here before, go check out the other 37 videos that I have so far. There's a lot of rambling. There's a lot of excuses like A.D.D and OCD of why I do things, but we're getting it done, and it's turning out pretty good. So yeah, do all the normal YouTube-y things, and I'm going to stop rambling now. And we'll get back to depressing news. That's what we're doing. Well, what y'all just saw was many hours worth of work. All of this is down to their clean metal for the most part. I got to run over some of the spots with the resurfacing tool. And of course I need to do the back of the cab since I got the glass out. But it is now Saturday. I spent the last 2 days outside. I got some gravel. Ended up getting like 42 tons of gravel. Moving my projects around and playing musical move the white trash. And trying to get it to where my yard isn't soup. So I haven't had any time to get onto the truck. But we're back out here. We're going to get something done. Not sure exactly what that is. Thinking we're going to tackle the fenders. I ended up ordering the top. I don't know how long it's going to take for the top to get here. It says that it's in manufacturing or however they word it, so I'm assuming they have to make it because I ordered it with a inner headliner thing. Hopefully it comes here sooner than later so I can actually get this cab painted. I reached out to some random windshield company on Facebook. A guy said he can get me the glass for like 130 bucks, so I'll probably get that this week. I think I've explained that before. It's kind of hard to see it on camera, but there are, yeah, you can see them here. There's little pigtails all around the window from somebody running a DA sander all around the windshield. So I'm here. The windshield needs to come out because all of those layers of paint are down in this channel, and if I was to try to scuff in between there and paint all of that, it's just gonna flake. It's a matter of time before it lifts and comes off. So I'm gonna try and meet up with that guy this week, get a fresh windshield, like secure the windshield, like I know that I have it before I remove this one. I don't want to get stuck with a truck that I don't have a windshield for, so I would remove it today, but I'm gonna wait. Self-control, we're trying to practice that. I'll get my windshield removal tool from work. I have one that goes in an air hammer. I do a lot of windshields at work in forklifts and excavators, and I don't know. It's been a little while, but there was one year I was doing them, seemed like weekly. They would come back, bust it out. So I'm gonna try to stop rambling here. New windshield, top is ordered. We're trying to make some progress. It's not working out so far. We are backing up. We are going in reverse here. So the end goal of the truck is I really would like to keep the fender flares. Not positive it's going to happen. I've seen a few trucks. I know the man Chuck is a friend of mine, buddy James he has the crew cab, one of the only ones I think that's in the United States, a crew cab one with fender flares. So I know it's possible. I just have to figure out how I'm going to go about doing that. But today I would like to roll the lip to where I can get as much steering as possible out of this thing, since it has drop spindles and doesn't really get anything for lift. So we'll stop rambling, try and throw a fender on here, see if we can get this thing trimmed up and try and roll the lip. And I know I have to repair a couple spots on the cab where the bolts were ripped out of the bottom of it. So yeah, just stop rambling, do some work. Just hung the fender on there. It's not bolted up or anything, but to get a general idea of where this thing's gonna make contact at. Basically, it's just in here. So I need to jack the wheel up, turn it lock to lock again. Well, as far as you can go lock to lock, because it obviously can't turn all the way. Mark it again. There's no need to roll the entire lip if I don't have to. Generally, I like to leave this portion here because the tire will never make contact with that. I don't think I'm going to be able to do that on the front, but we're going to try to leave as much factory flare on the back side as possible just to keep that rigidity, I guess. And again, same thing. So we know it's not going to go any further than that. And it's the entire lip on the front. All right, before I show you all how to do this, I know this isn't a traditional hot rod way of doing a wired edge. The hot rod way, you're actually curling the piece of sheet metal around the rod. I don't do that way on these mini trucks. I would say it's my mini truck version of that. Instead of curling it around the rod, I'm just using the rod to give it a little bit of girth, I guess you could say, on the edge of the fender to where it looks more finished and it has more rigidity rather than just rolling the lip, because this isn't like a unibody car to where the inner fender is made into the outer fender. It's all just sheet metal here. So if you were to flatten those two pieces of sheet metal together, it gives it kind of a weird appearance, and there's a really good chance that if you were to push on it or pull on it, it'll crease the quarter panel. It's like, if you've ever, I don't know, I've rolled a bunch of Honda Civic fenders over the years. If you just roll that lip and you were to, I don't know, you're working on your car and you pushed on that fender, there's no rigidity to it because that sheet metal, for one thing, is so thin. But if you push it in, it'll crease it along the edge of that. This wired edge helps give it some kind of rigidness to where it helps with that, and it puffs out the end of the fender to where it's not just flat on flat. There's actually just a little bit of a curl on this edge. So we're just going to take a piece of 3/32 TIG welding rod and hammer that into this fender lip. There's nothing more than that. I'm going to take a very basic body hammer with a pretty heavy crown on it. It's got a good bit of weight to it, and we're going slow. We are hammering very slowly across the entire thing, just like fender rollers. I have a fender roller. If I stuck a fender roller on there, you're doing it in gradual passes. We're doing the same thing with the hammer. I just can't put the wire in there with the fender roller. So this is the way to go about that. I'll be taking this very lightly, tapping along that edge. It is extremely simple, but it adds a lot to the fender. I have the old fenders outside. Tomorrow I'll bring one in and try to compare this very edge of it. It's a significant difference. I don't know if you'll be able to tell on camera, but the feel of it feels finished rather than, I don't know, like cutting them off. Never recommend just cutting this lip off. If you cut this off, this thing becomes like a flimsy piece of paper. Just don't do it. I know it's tempting, and I've done it when I was younger, and I regretted it. It's terrible. I've at least done just the hammering of them flat. Back in the day, whenever, like I have an Eastwood fender roller that, they're like $50 now. Back in the day, they didn't even make those. So, and if they did, they were probably extremely expensive. But this is the way I've always done them. Fender rollers, I stick with cars, but for these things, definitely hammer and dolly. The wheel arch is shaped odd, so a fender roller doesn't really work with these anyway. So I'm going to give you a basic example of this. It's super straightforward, and yeah, hopefully I don't ramble the entire time. I'm going to go ahead and degrease all of this because it's never going to see the light of day again. But it all looks good. There's no rust or anything in there. I just got to make sure I get all of the dirt out because that lip's going to be folded over there permanently. I don't want to trap any of that mud in there. Normally on a hot rod, you'd use like 1/8 inch rod or maybe even something larger. Pretty big stuff. And the whole idea behind this is this rod being sandwiched in between that sheet metal gives it a nice rounded edge. That way when you're turning, and if your tire was to grab the edge of the sheet metal, it doesn't try to yank the sheet metal because it's grabbing a rounded edge rather than grabbing a flat lip that's just sheet metal. So normally hot rods be much bigger because like they don't go up and down, and there's usually not a problem when it comes to this. It's just to give it some kind of rigidity. I don't use that really, really thick rod. This is 3/32 stainless steel TIG rod. And the reason I use this is that I need more clearance. If this was just like on coilovers or something like that, of course, I'd go to a much larger rod because there'd be room for all that. And slowly massage this over. When I get pretty close to the point of it actually capturing the rod, I will vice grip the rod in a few places or clamp it or whatever and roll that final lip over top of it and try to have a curved end on there. You do not want to go in this just banging on it and folding the lip over. You have to go slowly and work the entire thing back and forth until you actually get it to curve over. If I just started hammering this edge and flatten this over, it'll put a crease in this fender somewhere like this, anywhere throughout the whole thing. So you have to slowly move the whole lip at the same time rather than one lip at one time. Like if you grabbed a hold of this with a pair of pliers and just bent it over, it's going to put little crease marks all the way along. I'm probably going to do the bulk of it with this guy because of the weight of it. Again, we're going slow, so it's just a matter of just going to town. It doesn't even look like I'm doing anything. Very, very light stroke. See, just over those first couple passes back and forth, nice continuous curve. Again, I don't want to go way past the end of it because it's not necessary. My Sharpie mark is right here, about where I'm stopping. So I'll take this down just a little bit, and then gradually it'll just be flat there. So I'm going to keep on hammering away until we get to the vice grip point. All right, there's the finished results. It's not all wavy like a potato chip. Try and see if you can see the thickness of this rather than just being, I don't know how to hold this against the camera, super thin sheet metal. There's actually a bit of a little girth there. So this one's good. It's actually very, very rigid. So now the other side, but that's probably for tomorrow because it's already like midnight because I sat out here way too long procrastinating about this. You can actually see it where it starts to dip back in, which I'm cool with because I want the top of the fender to come out as much as possible to give me more room. This, I'm actually going to have to pull this out a little bit. Since that lip stops here and there's a fender mount here, I'm going to have to tweak this out. But I'd like for this to sit kind of flush with the bumper rather than tucked in from the factory. From the factory, it follows this line. I would like it to follow the outside of the fender. So something like that. It'll still look good, but it'll give me probably a ½ inch more of clearance, maybe even more. And then I'll make a fender support from here to the inner side. But yeah, it's pretty good for tonight. I'm gonna go inside and pass out now. Back out here, it is Sunday. It's gonna be kind of a quick one. I think I'm going to roll the lip or wire edge the lip on the passenger side. And then I need to do something else because the core support in my daily driver that I bought pre the new daily driver, which I haven't had time to work on that, and parts are slowly starting to show up for it, the heater core took a crap. So I need to spend most of the day putting the heater core in. This will be the third time that I've had that dash out. It's terrible. So we're gonna knock this out real quick and go from there. Passenger fender is done, and with no shims and basically zero camber, there's actually enough room in the front now for the Titan wheels, which would completely change when it came time to the rear. But it is actually fits. Looks pretty good. These are a little beat up. I think this is an aftermarket fender because it's black on the inside and not painted. But again, this lip curled down, so I just gotta curl that out, get this bolted in place, and I'll be pulling the outer portion of the fender over flush with the body. So it'll be something about like that. And that'll give me another, I think I said yesterday, ½ inch or so of clearance. Yeah, it's pretty good progress. It's not a super exciting video again this week, but things happened and it didn't work out the way I thought it was going to. I was gonna pull the windshield out today, but I really don't want to take the chance of not getting the windshield. My luck with parts, it'd be some national back order or something and I won't be able to get it. So the guy said he can get it to me by Wednesday. If he gets it to me by Wednesday, I'll take the windshield out that night, start prepping all of it, and at least have everything in primer. I can do that anytime this week. So I need to figure out, I really need to clean my garage, but I need to figure out where my other resurfacing tool wheel is because this thing is just about shot. And once I get that, I'm going to strip all of this down to bare metal because I do not want to chance that flaky, nasty stuff. So now, I'll see y'all next Sunday. I will be pulling the heater core out of my Lincoln. which requires you to remove the entire dashboard. So that's pretty exciting. Yeah, not as much progress as I was hoping, but we're getting it done. Next week, hopefully we'll be getting big progress leaps again. Maybe we'll have a windshield. Maybe we'll have some information about the top. I will be picking up the silver for the wheels most likely this week from the paint shop. I need to order a set of tires. Those are slightly narrower wheels than the other ones, so these tires will be kind of ballooned on those. So more money, more and more and more money. My buddy James really wants me to buy some Honcho something or another tires just so we can say we did, or I did. I spent the money on them. I don't know if that's going to happen. Oh, Mucho Honcho, that's what it was. I don't know if we're going to get any Mucho Honchos. We're at least trying to get some Ling Longs or something. Those have been out a little bit longer, but I'm rambling. I'll see y'all next Sunday, and hopefully we'll be knocking it out and getting some big progress stuff done. Yeah, thanks for watching.